Hey guys, welcome to the Scholar Online YouTube channel, the channel that is all about learning. Okay, in this channel, we make videos on helping you learn a lot of the programming topics, subjects, building your own stuff from scratch all by yourself. Okay, so we are a learning channel and we demonstrate everything that we are teaching you right here on camera, and you can see exactly what I'm doing as I go along and build your own stuff. Okay, so if you're new to this channel of ours, thank you very much and welcome to Scholar Online. Please remember to like this video that you're watching and to subscribe to the channel so that you will be notified every time that we produce a new video. We try to produce a new video every week. It's not always possible, right? But whenever possible, we try to produce a new video every week. Okay, so if the video that you're watching right now, just open up that show more button underneath there. Okay, there's gonna be more information on it. Every time I say I'm going to link something in the description below, that's where you're going to find it. Okay, you're going to find links that are useful that I talk about in this video in the description. Over and above that, you're going to find video timestamps. Okay, so video timestamps are very useful because our videos tend to be quite long because we are very detailed in our explanations. And if you find that I'm explaining something that you already know or that is a little bit boring, you can just use the timestamp to skip over to the next part of the video, okay, and just learn what is important to you. And also when you come back in the future again, you can use the timestamps. Just click on the timestamp and it will take you to the section of the video that is explained on the timestamp. Over and above that, we've got our social media links below, okay? So follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, and if you want to write me an email, all right, you can go to my website and write me an email, admin at scholar.online, all right, and then I'll respond as much as possible, okay, to those responses. Okay, so today in this video that we're going to do today in our what we're learning on today is we are going to be building a language translate engine, okay, like a Google Translate. Okay, we're going to build something like that. So this is the end product of what we're going to build. I'm going to take you through step by step how to build this thing from scratch using your OpenAI API and Python Flask. Okay, so by the time we are done, we will have something like this where a website is just one page where you can enter anything that you want to translate. So let's say I want to translate hello, how are you today? All right, and you're going to be able to translate it into 5 different languages. And by the way, if you follow the tutorial properly, you will see that you can add as many languages as you like, okay, depending on whether or not that language has already been pre-trained by OpenAI. Okay? If you have some language that's not pre-trained, you can obviously build your own training models. But for today, we're going to be working with pre-trained languages. So these ones are definitely pre-trained, but there's many more. You can try them out. You can add as many languages as you like. So hello, how are you doing today is what I want to translate. And then we're going to have a drop down when you can select what language you want to translate it to. So let's pick Swahili. I want to translate hello, how are you today in Swahili. And then you just basically click on the translate button. And there you go. It has translated it. Okay. Jambo, habari za leo. Okay. Habari gani, habari za leo. So basically that is a translation. You can actually try again. And I think, let me try. Yeah. Woke up this morning, decided to have some breakfast. That is a longer content sentence or a little bit of a half of a paragraph, and you want to translate that into Swahili. Okay, let's click that and you'll see that it will translate it again into Swahili for you. Okay, so you can translate short sentences, longer sentences. I haven't tried translating a whole document. You can try that once you've done the video, right? And you can basically pick any language over here, right? So let's say you wanted to do this in Spanish, for example. In Espanol, you can just change the language, and the language that it returns will be a different language over there, you see. So I'm going to show you how to build this here today on Scholar Online. So make sure you watch all the way to the end so that you don't miss out on anything, and subscribe to our channel so that you get notified every time we have another cool, interesting video like this one. And let's start learning. We are going to explore a language translation instruction inside of OpenAI API, okay? We've done a couple of videos on OpenAI API in this channel. We've explored a lot of the functionality, and I'm telling you, there's probably still thousands more. But today I'm curious to explore the language translation because Perhaps it will be something useful to use in translating your app into different languages, something like that. There's probably a lot of use cases for this if you can get it out. And so far, having to build your own language translation model is a bit of a nightmare. So let's try and see what OpenAI has in terms of language translation, okay? So we're gonna start by heading over to their website where the documentation is. I will put this link in the description below as well. If you get onto the documentation website, if you start right at the beginning under the introduction, I just wanted to cover first of all everything we've done so far with OpenAI API. All right, the documentation is constantly changing, so I would advise you to constantly have a look at this site every time you get a chance to check the updates. I mean, even the last week they just re-updated again the playground. I'll show you what they've included. There's now the ability to insert text, there's the ability to do completion from like the beginning or from the end and with better instructions. There's a lot of things that have changed, so just have a look at the documentation every chance you get, okay? But today, let us see, okay? So what we've done so far in this channel is we've had a look mostly at completion, okay? Completion is where you give it an instruction and you start sort of by prompting it, and you give it a prompt, and then the AI completes the sentence for you depending on the instruction that you've given it, okay? We've used it to, when we did our blog generation, our blog writer tool, that was one of the first tutorials we did. Well, we've given it instructions like generate a blog ideas. We're given instructions like generate blog sections, generate blog content. You can give it any kind of instruction you want. This completion model can write anything for you, from an assignment, discussion, to a blog, to a marketing copy, so all those tools like your writers and your Javas, most of them you can build something like that using the completion part of the model. And I know that I get a lot of questions around how to build a tool like Writer or a tool like Javas, and I am working on a full tutorial because it's not something that you can do on a YouTube video in like an hour or so, okay? It's going to take time setting up the environment, setting up the app. I think I'll do it on something like Django, all right? And then you're gonna have to set up the virtual servers. You're gonna have to set up, I want to build it in such a way that you can completely run it on a domain, and it's got like authentication and all of that, okay? So I'll do a full tutorial. It might not be free, but I will definitely answer a lot of those questions because I've gotten a lot of questions in that sense, and I will make it available perhaps on our Scholar Online website, and you can get it there. But for now, today we are going to do language translation. So language translation actually falls under the within the use cases, it falls under the completion use case, okay? It falls under the first completion use case. There is code, classification, search, question and answering, fine-tuning and embedding, and all that. These are all different parts of the API with different models, all right? I mean, different sort of like different API endpoints specifically, okay? Different API endpoints, not different models, because the model that you use depends on the use case. So I've done a bit on coding. I've done a codex tutorial. I've done a classification tutorial. If you have a look, there's a tutorial I've done for classifying a Twitter a tweet. And by the way, you can also use the completion to do classification, by the way, especially simple classifications like positive or negative sentiment. You can use the completion, or to just say, please classify this positive or negative, and it will do that for you. But when we did our Twitter classification video tutorial that you can find on this channel, we had to train it on a more specialized classification where we wanted to, we had our own tweets and we trained the model. So you can go into this classification part of the documentation and have a look at how you can upload your own documents for training, how you can then, classify based on your own specialized classification based on the documents that you've done. There's a tutorial on that here on this channel. Just have a look and you can see that. Search, I haven't done yet, but I'm going to do search in the future. Content and nurturing, Probably fine-tuning and embedding is a bit more higher grade and complex. So in future, I will do something on search. This is very useful. For example, if you've got a website and perhaps you've got documentation and you want to be able to search the stuff using the AI, you can actually get your documentation in a JSON L format and you upload it onto OpenAI, and then you can then use the model to sort of like search through your documentation. And this is a use case for this already I've anticipated is customer support. All right, building a customer support bot that sits on your website, and you enter your documentation or your website content into the document that you upload onto OpenAI. And when somebody asks a specific question, the AI can actually search the documentation and give an answer, as opposed to having an actual physical person always manning a bot over there. All right, so I'm going to do a tutorial on this sometime in the future. And I think it will probably cover question and answering as well, because the bot will be built based on question and answering. So somebody will be asking a question and then the bot will provide an answer. So this is coming in the future. Stay tuned. I will make a tutorial on this. Okay. So what I definitely promise to do is to do a search thing, is to do a question and answering. And also I will do a full video on how to actually build a tool like Java's like Writer on Python and Django. It will be a full website, complete with authentication, complete with something that you can take and start charging people for. Okay, I'll even consider throwing in there a payment processing, so you can charge people for the thing. So I'll do a full tutorial, but it probably won't be free. I'll put it on my website. But if you have something like that, you can definitely then customize it for your own uses. Okay, so that will be in the future. I can't promise when, but I will definitely do it. Today, let's get started with our a language translation. Okay, so for that, I'm going to go through this documentation. All right, there is an example on the languages. All right, conversation, let me see, transformation, I think that's the one here, translation. All right, so there's an example here where you can like translate something into a specific language. So based on the OpenAI training that they've already done, remember the GPT-3 models have already been pre-trained, okay? So they've already been pre-trained even on language translation. This means that you don't have to train your own language translation model, especially for the most common languages. French, Spanish, Japanese, the most common languages have already been pre-trained for translation. So you can actually just use a pre-trained model to do your own translation. And of course, you just pay for the API to enable you to do that, okay? So here's an example where you might want to translate something into 3 different languages, and you can open this in the playground. So I'm just going to click over there and open it in the playground, and then it has this, it's the same instruction, translate 1, 2, 3 languages, and then this is what you want to translate, and then you already give it a prompt so that it knows it needs to start with 1. All right. So the settings over here for this, when you use the OpenAI examples, they've already preset the settings for you there. Under default translate, you'll see the temperature is 0.3, maximum length is 100 there, and the top P frequency penalties, best of, have already been pre-selected for you. Okay, so I'm going to run this provided example. Okay, and then later on we're going to work on creating our own prompt that fit our model. Okay, so this example translates this sentence into these different languages. Okay, so what rooms do you have available? Okay, so you can translate it into French. So this is the French version, the Spanish version is this one, and then the Japanese version is this one. Okay, so this is an example, but I'm going to rewrite this prompt, okay? Because let's say I want to do only like one language at a time, because I want to do a language translator, okay? So I need to be able to enter the language that I want to select from, and then enter the prompt. Okay, so when we build our application, I'm going to take you through the process of building the application as well. Simple Flask application is that I want to be able to enter the language that I want to translate into, okay, like that, translate into French, and then I want to be able to enter the prompt that I want to be translated, and then I'm going to leave everything like that, and then I'm going to give it a chance to do the translation. Okay, so translate into French. Okay, let's submit that. All right, so that works. All right, so let's try translate into, so French is definitely going to be the first language we're going to work with. Translate into French, translate into Spanish. Let's remove that. All right, translate into Spanish. Let's see what it does. There you go. So you got a Spanish translation, and then we're gonna say translate into. Let's do 3 languages, okay? Spanish. Let's do another one. Let's do Italian. Let's do Italian. Let's see how good OpenAI is in translating into Italian. All right. So let's translate into Italian. All right. There you go. It can translate Italian as well. All right. I'm going to try and figure out all the languages I can translate into. And then we're going to build a translator or a translator app that you can automatically pick a language and then it translates for you whatever it is that you want in that language. All right. So let's see the next one. We've done Italian. We've done, actually, let me not have any spaces in here. All right. So Italian. What other language is there? What other language we want to do? Russian. Let's try that. Okay. Translate into Russian. All right. Let's see if OpenAI has banned Russian yet. They haven't. Okay, so you can translate into Russian as well. Let's do one more. Let's do one more language. Let's see if it has Swahili. All right. Swahili is an African language, very popular in Africa. I would be curious to know if they have trained Swahili on OpenAI. They have, all right? So you can translate into Swahili, all right? So I can actually build a flipping learning Swahili model, all right? So imagine what you can do with the language translator engine, because what you can do here is you can actually build an API. And I think that's where we're gonna get to. We're gonna build an API translation that you can then use either in a mobile app, in a whatever, and then that API talks directly to OpenAI. So this is really amazing, okay? So it can translate Swahili as well. What other language are we forgetting? Okay, let's do 5. And I think in future, if you wanna then have a little bit more, you can add more languages, because you can see how the process works. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to then, remember, once you've worked with OpenAI Playground, so this is where you can actually test your prompts and your whatever, and you can then directly export the code out of this. All right, so I'm going to view the code. And if you view the code, you can see all the settings are set for you, maximum tokens, everything. This is something you might want to change later on if you have like a longer paragraph you're trying to translate. Okay. And then you can have like different languages, and they keep adding more and more languages here. Hey, so there's Node.js, there's curl, there's JSON. So if you wanted to do this, for example, in a Node.js application, we've done this before when we worked with React.js, you can then do that, and then you can get the Node version of this. If you wanted to work with curl is really a nice language to use when you're working with like a different model, like a different language or a different sort of app type application where that's not included in here, because curl is anything that you can run even on the command line. You can run curl. You can use the curl instruction to build just about any, you can use to build it from any language. So curl is useful. I'm not gonna work with curl because I'm going to work with Python, but they also have a JSON version. Okay, so let's look at the Python one. Okay, because we're gonna work with Python. Okay, and if you look at the Python code, you need to import OpenAI. Okay, so that's the library you're going to work with. And then you need the OpenAI API key. This is very, very important. So if you go to your account over here, and you go to where your account is, a personal there, and you look at view API keys. Okay, I'm not going to do that now, but if you click there, you're going to be able to see your API key, and that's what you need to put in here for you to get an API key. For you to be able to get the function to run. Okay. So I've got, I'm going to do this in Flask. So I'm going to take you through the process of building Flask, very minimalist Flask application, so that you can follow along with me. And no, I will not make this code available because I actually want you to follow along, because I'm going to do everything right in front of this video. I'm not going to do anything outside of the video. So if you actually just follow along on the video, you get into the process of muscle memory, of remembering how to type the things, and that's how you learn. When I was young and learning coding, and I used to find code all over GitHub. Sometimes code I didn't even understand what the code was doing. I used to copy and paste a lot of code, and it wasn't teaching me a lot until I started to write the code myself. You have to go through the process of writing the code and figuring out what exactly you're writing so that you can, create the muscle memory of writing code yourself. And yes, I can give you, like a GitHub repo to refer to, but that ends up letting you just copy and paste the code as opposed to actually writing and learning. Okay, this is a learning channel, and I'd like you very much to take the time to learn. Okay, so now let's copy this whole thing. I'm gonna copy this whole thing. Okay, actually we don't have to do it like that. You can just copy it from there, and I'm going to create a new file in here. I'm going to call it a new file. I'm going to call this one OpenAI X. Let's not call it OpenAI so that we don't have clash libraries .py. All right, I'm just going to paste that in there, and I'm going to come back to this later. So let's build up our Flask application. All right, save. Right, okay. So to build our Flask application, the first thing that we need is to import Flask itself, okay? So we need to import Flask, and in order to import Flask, we need to install Flask. And in order to install Flask, we need a virtual environment so we can install Flask in that virtual environment. So the very first step is in the command line where your application is going to be, you need to be working off a virtual environment, okay? So I'm going to just say virtual env, all right? And before you can do this, you need to have virtual env installed inside of your computer. And I'm doing this, by the way, on a Linux operating system of a virtual server. Okay, so this might not work. This command might not work if you're trying to run it on a Windows computer, if you're trying to run it on a Mac computer. So this is something I must mention as well. I cannot go through the entire process of setting up the environment every time I do a tutorial, because the process of setting up an environment takes an hour or it takes quite a bit of time. So every time I do a tutorial, I can't start with the whole process, but I'll show you where to go to figure out how to set up the environment. Okay, so on my YouTube channel, if you go to YouTube and you search for my channel, which is Scholar Online, right? And you search for Scholar Online and you go to my channel over there, I have done a lot of videos. Okay, I've done a lot of videos on setting up a virtual environment and setting up like a Linux virtual private server to work from. Okay, because we write so much code that you can't always write it on your own personal computer, and you can't always follow along if somebody is developing in Microsoft and somebody else is developing in Mac or operating system. Somebody else is operating somewhere else. I can't always recreate all the different versions of the operating system that people are using. Okay, so what I do is I work off like a cloud server. All right, and the benefits of working off a cloud server is, number one, you can separate your code from your personal computer. All right, and then you can write as much code as you like. You don't have to worry about spacing issues. It's easier to run the code. Okay, and the most important thing is that you can immediately deploy your code. So you can run the code and you can immediately deploy it, and then you can like have it on a website or whatever, as opposed to running it on your own computer. Then you still have to figure out how to deploy it from your personal computer onto another server somewhere else and run it, and then it's another process. So in my channel, generally how I work is I work off virtual private servers that you can code in there and separate your code from your personal computer. So if you look at the videos that I have on the channel, okay, I just want you to like scroll down a bit. If you scroll down a bit, let's look at actually the playlists, because then that's a lot of videos. If you look at the playlist and you go down, you go back, I think I've got a Flask virtual, there you go. All right, so this playlist is a I don't know, I can't remember, setup virtual private server VPS cloud hosting beginners tutorial. Okay, so over here I've got 3 videos. All right, the first one is setting up a virtual private server from scratch. So if you go through this video, you will learn how to go and purchase a virtual private server and set it up for you to be able to work with what I'm doing on the channel. Then I've got how to deploy a Flask application on DigitalOcean. So once you have built this Flask application, like you follow my tutorial and then you want to deploy it, you can go watch this video and check how you can actually deploy the application so that it's like a website. All right. And then the third one is how to set up the firewall, because, and this is a longer one, and this one includes that. Okay, so this is 1 hour 30 minutes. It shows you how to actually safely set up your virtual server in a way that you set up the firewall, and everything is sort of secure, and that you're not going to get issues, how to disable the password login so that you don't have to, you can only use SSH to get into your server. So there's a lot of these 3 tutorials are almost like a prerequisite of you being able to follow the majority of my tutorials, because I can't always do all of this at the beginning of the tutorial, because otherwise everything will be too long and everything will be too repetitive. So I'm going to link this playlist from now on. Every time I do a video, I'm going to link this playlist in the description so that you can just watch these videos, and then you've set up your virtual server. Then once you've done that, you'll be able to be here with your Python installed, your operating system set up, everything working the way it should, for you to just start running a Flask application. Okay, so I'm assuming when you get here, you've already watched these 3 videos, and now you're ready to just run a Flask app. So now what we're going to do now is we need to install the virtual environment. Okay, so this virtual env, if you've done the tutorials I'm talking about, this command is going to run without an issue, because this would already been pre-installed as part of the Python sort of like library setup packages. That the stuff that I do when I set up the environment with Python, you would already have this installed. Okay, so you're going to do virtual env, then you need to give the environment a name. So I'm going to call it, I don't know, let's call it what? AI env, artificial intelligence environment, something like that. All right, you just run that command, and then it will go and create the environment. If you then list the where you are, you will see the envs there, and then you just need to sort of activate it, right? So source AI env bin activate. Right, so once it's activated, you'll see it over there at the beginning of your line inside of the brackets, then you know it's activated. And then we're going to go back to where we are running our code from with our environment activated. You'll see over here it's just this app.py file. Okay, it's the same app.py file that we're working with over there. All right, so it's this app.py file. Okay, so now from Flask, import Flask. We want to import Flask, and we want to import OpenAI, because if you look at what we've just copied and pasted here, this OpenAI is the library that we need. All right, so I'm going to say pip install OpenAI, and then we need to install our Flask as well. Right, so that's done running. Let's just clear this up. We're good to go. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do from Flask, import Flask. I think we also need to import render template. We need to import render template. We need to render underscore template. We need to also import request, and we probably need to import, no, that's it. That's all we need to import for now. Okay, and then we're going to initiate our app object. All right, so our app object is going to be this Flask that we imported at the top over there. All right, you're going to do Flask, then you're going to do underscore name. Okay, underscore. All right, so that's how you initiate your Flask application. And then one of the important things that you want to initiate as well, is your secret key. Okay, so to do that, you just basically say app config. All right, you're going to say app.config. All right, then over here, you're going to select the variable within the config that you want to set. So the variable that we want to set over here is the secret key. All right, and the secret key is equals to, it can be anything that you like. All right, this must be a super long secret key. And so sometimes what I normally do is I normally search for UUID, unique ID for generator. You can get this generator tool online and just generate like some unique strings over there, and then you copy them, and you can use like these for your secret key. Make it long, but obviously you don't want, you wouldn't show your secret key on camera like what I'm doing. Okay, so your secret key is specifically a secret key. Okay, so make sure that you don't share it. You might want to find ways of putting it in a different file if you're gonna share this on GitHub or with friends or with somebody else. Basically, you want to keep this key a secret. Okay, so I'm gonna put a note there and say the below key must be kept secret. All right, then once we've done that, we're going to create our first a root for the application. Okay, so this is very simple. With Flask, we basically just say app.root. All right, we basically just say app.root, and then obviously the default sort of like root home path for this is just like a slash. And then after that, I think I like to always specify the method as well. The methods in this specific case is going to be, for now, let's just say get. Okay, so let's say it's a get root for now. And then after that, we're going to define the function. So the function for this will be home. Let's just call it home. And then after we've defined the function called home, we're going to write the code for this function here. Okay, write the code for the function here. Then once we've done that, you're gonna then return something. All right, so in our specific case, we're gonna return not just a string, we want to return an entire HTML file. And for us to return an HTML file, you obviously need to have the HTML file somewhere. So we're gonna create a new folder, and with Flask convention, this folder needs to be called templates, because this is where we're gonna put our templates. And then inside of this template folder, we're gonna just put in a new file that we're gonna call index.html, like that. And then inside of this index.html file, I'm just gonna say HTML like that, and there's nothing much in here. I'm just gonna put Scolo, and over there I'm gonna put like an H1 that says this is Scolo Online, like that. All right, so this is index.html file inside of there. And so back in the app.py, I can return that file by using render template. Okay, so that's why we installed render template at the top there. And then all you need to do is to specify the file name. All right, so render template index.html. You don't even have to say templates index.html, doesn't matter, unless if you had subfolders in here, like you had a bigger application that had subfolders, then you could then specify the subfolder name in there. But if it's just directly in the templates folder, you can just say templates or whatever, And then what I like to do as well, so that I don't forget to always specify the variables that I'm going to send into the context of the HTML file, I like to always just say locals. Okay, so locals. If you put locals like that in here, it means any variable that you specify in here will be automatically sent over to the template context, so that you can use it. You can refer to it inside of there. All right. So then the last thing for our Flask application here is if underscore name. All right, underscore is equals to main. Okay, underscore main. Okay, so if the name is equals to main, so if you're running the main thread, then you're gonna say app.run. You can just say app.run. That will work as well. All right, but because we're doing this on a private VPS, I think it's going to be important to specify the host. Okay, so the host is just going to be 0.0.0.0. Okay, 4 zeros. Okay, so this is like an IP address. So this sort of like not refers to, but it sort of like just defaults to, yes, it defaults to the local host, because 0.0.0 will be the local host that you're running the machine from. Okay, and then you can also specify a port. All right, so you can say port, I don't know, let's work with port 5000 or 8000. All right, let's work with port 8000, and then debug is equals to true. Okay, so debug is when you're running the app in debug mode, so that it can like give you, sort of give you more information about when things go wrong. But as soon as you're ready to run your application in production, you're going to remove this debug is equals to true. Okay, you can also set the production or the debug state under the config, but you can also set it up here, so you don't forget. As soon as your app is ready, you can remove this part, the debug part. All right. So that's pretty much it. Okay, so this is all you need to run your Flask application. All right, so we're gonna start by just testing the basic Flask application for now. Okay, so I'm gonna save all of this and then I'm gonna commit these changes. All right, basic Flask application. All right, so let's have a look over here. If all the files are here, you can see all the files that I just created are now here, even the templates folder. All right, if I open app.py, it's the way I have it on the other side, so I'm happy with that. This is happening inside of my virtual server. I'm writing the code inside of my Mac computer, and I am then pushing it using Git every time to this location so that I can run it from this location. Okay, so I'm writing the code in my computer, but I'm running it in a Linux virtual server that's sitting on DigitalOcean, so that I can then be able to, like, when I'm good and ready, I can then deploy the application. So that's why I do it the way that I do it. And I do it for all my tutorials. You will see all my tutorials I work like this. And if you're watching my channel on a regular basis, you'll get used to it. But obviously, get started by setting up your VPS over here, the way I've indicated on this channel. On this videos there. All right. So now we should be able to test this. Okay, so I'm just going to do Python app.py like that. Python app.py. All right. Okay, so I know what mistake is. So this needs to be, if this is equals to main, it needs to be double equal, not one equal. So that was my mistake. All right. So because it's an if statement, with Python, if you're going to do an if statement, you have to use the double equal sign. Okay. Typo. Okay, dokes, let's try it again. Perfection. Okay, so you can see this is running over here. This is my IP address for my virtual server, and this is the port that I asked it to run it at. So it actually even gives me this nicely inside of the instructions that I can just copy and paste this anyway, and then I can have a look at my Flask application. All right. This is Scholar Online. There's nothing there because if you look at our HTML, there's only this one body that says H1 and perhaps like something at the top there on the title that says Scholar. But this is sufficient because from here, what we're going to do now is that we're just going to build like a form. All right, we're going to build a form where we can just like take in from the form instructions or whatever somebody wants to translate. We're going to enter it via a form, and then as soon as somebody presses enter, then we're going to print forward the translation for them. Okay, so for me to be able to do that, I want to style this a little bit using Bootstrap. Okay, so I'm going to just like go to get Bootstrap website, and I just want to get started. I want the quick start template, which is this one over here. All right, so I'm going to actually like copy this whole thing. I think there's a copy button at the top there. So I'm going to copy this whole thing and I want to remove what was there initially, and I'm going to paste that which I've copied. All right, so instead of having a title of Hello World, I'm going to say Skolo instead, and over here I'm going to say this is Skolo Online. All right, and then basically option 1, I'm going to use Bootstrap with Popper. That's okay. I'm not using option 2. So you can decide whether you want to use Bootstrap with Popper or separate. You don't want to use it with Popper. So I want to use it with, and I'm going to remove that second part. All right. And I'm going to remove that because I don't need the instruction again. I understand what it is. All right. So that's all you need. Let's save this and run this again. All right. Coolio. So did this restart? Nope. Let's restart it. And let us have a look at our current website now with it restarted. There you go. It's styled. It looks a little bit nicer. I think what I want to do, I definitely want to put this inside of a container. Okay, I want to put this inside of a container. And then we're going to do a couple of things, all right? So I want to center this as well. All right, so let's see. Let's look over here and content layout. Let's look at the layout. All right, containers. All right, so if you want a container small, container medium, you can sort of choose the kind of container that you want. So the default container is this one, the class container. You can have a responsive container, container medium, container large, or container fluid. Let's maybe have a container fluid, right? All right, let's have a fluid container. Let's have a fluid container, so that's okay. I also want to a text center. I don't know if this will work. All right, let me do this center. Okay, so let's try that and see if that'll work. All right, so I need to restart this server. Let's look at our site. There you go. That's great. So I want it in the middle and I want it in a container. I definitely want a margin top. Okay, so I also want there to be like an empty, maybe a margin top 5 over there, so that there's a bit of space at the top. All right, and then I'm not gonna have a menu. I'm just gonna say, instead of saying this is Scholar Online, we're gonna say Scholar Online Language Translator. All right, and then I'm gonna put like a paragraph in here. Okay, this language translator uses the latest GPT-3 Instruct series to translate any English sentence into the following languages. Okay, into the following languages, and then you can pick the languages we talked about. We said we're going to work with, where are they? Where are my languages? I think I said we're going to do French. I think we said we're going to do Spanish. All right, I think we said we're going to do Italian, and I think we said we will do Russian. Okay, let's drop Russian. Okay, we're not going to do Russian anymore. All right, let's drop Russian. All right, let's do Swahili. Let's do Swahili. So we've got French, Spanish, Italian, Swahili. Let's find a last one. Let's find a last one. Let's do something like Chinese. All right. Yeah. Or Japanese. Yeah, Chinese. No, Korean. Let's do Korean. All right. So French, Spanish, Italian, Swahili, and Korean. All right. These are the languages we're going to do. And you can add more. You can add as many as you like. All right. All right. So I'm going to put in another paragraph and I'm going to say, simply enter the line you would like to translate and pick a language from the drop down. Right, so simply enter the line you'd like to translate and pick a language from the drop down, and then we will return to you whatever. Okay, so over here we're then going to have a form. All right, and this form, the action index for this form is just going to be that. Okay, it's going to be a post, which means instead of our app.py we need to include post here as well. All right, so you're gonna have both get and post. We're gonna then say class. I don't know, I'm gonna leave the class open. So you're gonna have a method post, and then inside of the form we are going to have like an input and both an input and a select. So the input we're going to use to input the sentence that we're going to be translating, and then the select we will use to select the language that we are going to be translating to. So over here, let's look at forms. All right, let's look at Bootstrap forms. Let's look at input group. All right, so input group, this is what I want. Where is just the normal input group? Okay, maybe let's just look at form control. All right, so let's say we have something like this. Let me use a text area one. All right, so let me use this one. All right, let's use the text area so people will enter the stuff they want to translate in the text area. So that will be it. All right, so example for control text area. So let's just change over this. Let's change this whole ID and call it I don't know, AI prompt. All right, replace all. And then I want to have a name as well. All right, so this text area I want to give it a name, and then the name is going to be AI prompt as well. Okay, so the name is AI prompt, the ID is AI prompt, and over here you can actually like have a default value, so you can say please enter what would you like to translate. What would you like to translate? And then the label for this will be the you know, enter translation content. I don't know. Enter translation content, or it can be, yeah, enter prompt. Okay, let's not say prompt. Enter below. All right, enter below what you would like to translate. And then after that, class form control, definitely. Let's look at select. We want to have a select field, read only, file input, color, data list, SAS. So where's the select? Forms, select, there you go. So this is the form for select, sizing, dish. All right. Open this menu, 1, 2, 3. So open this select menu. This is a good sizing. I like the big one. All right. So let's pick that select. Okay. So let's copy that and paste in here. I'm gonna put in that div MB3 again, margin bottom MB3. That's margin bottom 3. I won't put a label for this one because I'll use the default one to sort of instruct what the person should be doing. All right, so I'm gonna say select your language. All right, and then so the language select large area, label that, class form select. All right, so let's say the first language here is going to be French. So let's start with Swahili. Okay, let's go to French. All right, let's go to Spanish. Okay, let's add another option. Option. Yes. So the next one is Spanish Italian. Italian. Okay, let's add another option. We said Korean. Awesome. And then after this, we're gonna have a button. All right. And the button will be, because actually what you can do, which I've never done before. I mean, I've done before, but not on the channel. But because I think what would be amazing, but let's do the button, and then we'll decide later if you want to change. We want to do that, because what would be really nice is the moment someone selects a language, you don't have to press the button. You just select a language, and then it brings your whatever. That's more sort of like intuitive to the person, right? So we would put in like a listener on the select. As soon as somebody selects the button, we go and we run the thing, but maybe we'll do that later. So for now, all we need to do is to say, wait. So type submit, all right? And we don't need a name, we can do a class. Okay, so the class will be BTN primary. Let's just work with primary. That will be a blue button, okay? And then we're gonna say translate, okay? And that's it. So underneath this form, perhaps we'll have like a paragraph, or let's make it an H4, all right? And this H4 will be like, the response, the translate will come over here, okay? And then it will need an ID, all right? And the ID will be we can give it any ID, but let's say translate response. So what happens is that as soon as we submit the form, we can use a jQuery to display the response over here. Actually, we don't need jQuery for this, because the page will refresh, and then it will refresh with the response already there. Okay, that's the first thing we can do. So let's just see what our form looks like. Let's see what our form looks like. All right. So it was already rerunning itself. Okay, no errors. Let us refresh this. Right. Okay. Scholar Online Language Translator. This language translator uses the latest GPT-3 Instruct series to translate any English sentence, any English sentence. Any English sentence into one of the following languages. In any English sentence into one of the following languages. All right. So actually, what I can do is one of the following languages, instead of this being a paragraph. I can actually put in a list over here, an unordered list item, and I can put that in there. So I can say French, list item, Spanish, list item, Italian, okay, list item. Actually, let's start with Swahili at the top because we selected first. All right, list item, Korean. All right, and then let's give this a margin top. Okay, MT3. Okay, so there's a little bit of space between this paragraph and that. Simply enter the line you'd like to translate and pick a language from the drop down menu, and then we've got the form. All right. So I don't like this is all over the place. It's too large. So I'm gonna try and use columns over here. All right. So this entire everything from here up to the H4, the response. what I'm going to do is, so the entire form, okay, I'm going to put it inside of column. So I'm going to say div row. All right, and in this div row, I'm going to have a div column LG, large column. Where do you want to break it? Let's say LG, you've got 12, so you can break that 12 into any sort of different numbers to decide on how you want to sort of, break up your row, okay? So let's say LG2, right? And then I have another div here that says call LG2. So this is 4 plus 4. So 4 plus 4 minus 12, that gives me what I've got left for my middle row, okay? So just 12 minus 4 is 8. All right, so I can make the middle column LG8. All right, div call LG8. Okay, so when you have a full row, your breakdown of the columns inside the row must always add up to 12. That's what I meant by that. Okay, so I'm going to paste this in here, and then let's have a look at what now this looks like. All right. All right, rearrange. Okie dokes, let's see if this reruns, or I need to sort of rerun it again. So rerun this. All right, and then let's refresh this page here. All right, so that's much better. You see, this is like the two columns called LG2 on the side, and then it pushed everything back in the middle. But this looks really weird with the bullets on the side and the words in the middle. But I don't know. Perhaps let's not do bullet points. Let's not use bullet points. Let's use paragraph. So let's make this another paragraph, okay? Actually, let's just make this the same paragraph. Let's just put in a break, okay? We're gonna work with breaks. All right, so let's get rid of this unordered list. Let's just put Swahili in there and a break. All right, French and a break, Spanish and a break, Italian and a break, and then finally Korean. Put Korean, okay, and then you can remove the list. And I think this might look better. Let's test that quickly. All right, so let's refresh, restart this server on this side, and then we're gonna rerun that. And I think that's better. That's better without the bullet points. Okay, so I wanted the lines to be on different items. Okay, so clearly you can people can understand what you're doing here. Okay, this language translator uses GPT-3 instruct series to translate any English sentence into the following languages: Swahili, English, French, Italian, Spanish. Okay, what would you like to translate? Okay, so you can then enter what you'd like to translate there. All right, I want to say Bertha, whatever I want to say. What would you like to translate? What to translate, whatever it is, you're going to put your sentence in there, and then you're going to select your language. You can see there you got Swahili, French, Spanish, Italian. All right, so let's say you select French, and then you click on that button, translate. All right, so let's just give it some space over here. So this is an ID, this is a class, margin top 5. All right, what this will do is that it will just add some space between this and that, so that the translate can come at the bottom. And I think we're ready to go. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna quickly pimp this page, pimped up our page a little bit with some emojis. It looks a little bit better, I think. So the content is exactly the same. I just sort of like put in those laptop technologists emojis at the top there, and some fingers, and even when you're selecting your language over there, there's some fingers in there. pointing, just to make the page a bit more lively. All right. And another thing that I changed as well is, you might want to do that because I did it off camera, but there on the text area, remember we had this what would you like to translate over here. All right, so just remove it and put it inside of a placeholder, okay? So that when somebody types in there, they can just start typing. They don't have to delete what's there already, all right? And then I just added some emojis there as well under translation response, okay? So now we're ready to go, all right? Let's go into our modeling now. So this is the model that we did, all right? So OpenAI, we import that. We already built it. We need to put in our API key, all right? So I need to get the API key. I'm not going to do it like that. What I'm going to do instead is that I'm going to import a file called config. And then over here, I'm going to say config.api key, right? And then inside of that file, I'm going to create a new file in here that I'm going to call config. All right, .py, and then inside this config, I'm going to have that variable API key, and then I'm going to enter my API key in there. So I'm going to do it off camera so you don't see it now. Okay, so I've done that. I've got that file called config, and I've pasted it in that config file so you can just access it, config.api key. And how you get your API key is back inside of Playground. If you just go to the top there and you say view API keys, open in a new tab. That's what I did. And you get over here. These are going to be your API keys. You can create a new one, or you can use the one that you've got. All right. So you don't even have to reveal it. You can just click that copy button and it will copy it. And then you paste it inside of the config file. You have to just create a variable called API key. So you're going to say API underscore key is equals to. Then inside of brackets, you know, it must be like a string. You paste it in there like a string, okay? And then you're good to go. Now, this is my prompt response. So I'm going to put this inside of a function, all right? I'm going to say get language translation. This is going to be the function, and it's going to take in a prompt, and it's going to take in the language as well, all right? And then it's going to be that function over there. And then the response will be that. So over here, translate this into Swahili. This is where the language is going to go. And then what rooms do you have available? This is going to be the prompt. All right. So I'm going to put in there format language prompt. Okay. So the prompt will go in there and the language will go in there, and then it will give in our response. Okay. So then what's going to happen? Sorry. All right, 1 2 3 4. I'm going to say return the response. All right, then I'm going to run this function. I'm going to run this function and say I don't know, our answer is equals to this function. All right, I'm going to run it like that. And then I'm going to test it because I want to see what kind of response and prompts I'm getting. I mean, what kind of response I'm going to be getting with whatever prompt that I'll be using. Okay, so I'm going to define these variables right here on this file. So I'm going to say prompt is equals to language is equals to prompt is equals to what do I want to translate? Let's say I want to translate what is the current time? What is the time? So let's say you're in a different country and you don't know, you want to know the time. This is something that is a common question I'm supposing a tourist would be asking. What is the time? In the language, I'm going to use Swahili. All right, for now. Okay, what is the time? The language is Swahili. And then I'm going to run this. I want to get what the answer is. And then I'm going to print the answer inside. I'm going to print the answer on the command line. Okay, so I'm going to say print whatever it is that I get as an answer over there. So when I run this, it will get the OpenAI key. It will get the prompt as I've defined it, the language. It will get an answer and it will print it. Okay, so let's run this and see what we get. Obviously, I have to stop that Let's clear that and let's push these. Let me put this at the top. All right. So git add. Okay, we're gonna test the OpenAI function. All right. Coolio. And then so over here you'll see if I list the files that are available, there is this OpenAI X file. This is where I've made all the changes. You can open it up by using the nano command and nano OpenAI X. You can see all the changes I've made over here. They are there. So if I run this function, it should be able to print for me the answer over there. All right. So you can just run it by doing Python and run this file there, and make sure that you've got the AI environment running before you do this, and you have installed the OpenAI library and you've installed that. Otherwise you're going to have some problems. But provided you've installed the library and you have there you go, provided you have installed the library and you have the API key properly in the file like I showed you, you should have a problem. Okay, so basically what's going to happen is I want to copy this because I think I can view it better inside of my code, inside of my in here. All right, so basically what you see here is that it returns an object, right? And in that object, one of the keys that it returns is choices. All right, so basically what I want answer choices. Okay, so because these choices is so I can access what's in there. All right, and this can throw an error if, for example, there was an error, if there was a problem when you submitted the API question and maybe you didn't do something right, or your API key was wrong, it was not going to return the same type of object. Maybe it would return a different type of object that shows you an error. Okay, so because this can throw an error, all right, we're gonna put it inside of actually answer response choices. Let's do it in the choices, not in here. Okay, so let's do it in there. All right, so this response choices, I'm gonna make it a variable. I'm gonna say answer. Yeah, what is it? Answer. Let me just say ANS. Okay, the answer is equals to that. All right, it's equals to the response, which is this response variable there, and choices. But because this can return this can throw an error if, for example, choices wasn't available. If choices wasn't available in this object, this would throw a Python error. What you want to do is you want to wrap it inside of a if statement. Okay, so you want to wrap it inside of it if choices in response. Okay, so this only runs if there is a choices and response, which means if your thing was successful, let's say you're not out of credits, or you didn't make an error, or you didn't use the wrong API key. There's multiple reasons why API would not return the object that you expected to return if everything runs successfully. So let's say there's an error or whatever. So we're gonna use an if statement, okay, so that we don't have to catch that exception. Okay, so if choices in response, we're going to get the response choices. All right, and then we're going to get the response choices at 1, because this is a list now. This is now an array. Okay, this array, for example, you might have asked for multiple choices. This happens when inside of your, if you look at the playground here, underneath here, inside of the best of, you can add multiple options, so that it can give you different types of answers. So let's say you wanted to have like 2 different responses, so that it like sort of gives you an alternative to that first answer, in a different way. And we do this a lot with the generation. So you might find that if you do that these choices, you have more than 1 choices. So what we're going to do is that we're going to want the choices at 0. All right, but again, this can throw an error if a 0 is not there, like if the choices was null, because that can happen. If you give it something it can't answer and it doesn't give any choice in response. So what we're going to do, we're going to wrap this again in another if statement, and we're going to say if the length of response.choices. Okay, so if the length of the response.choices, which is now the length of this response.choices, which is now this array over here. Okay, so if the length of response.choices is greater than 0, okay, so if there is a response in there, all right, then the answer is now going to be the answer is now going to be response choices at 0. So this is going to be, we're going to be taking the first one, okay? And if you had asked for multiple responses, you can obviously look at the first one, the second one, the third one, but we only want the first one because we're only going to ever ask for one response, okay? So the answer is equals to that, all right? And then maybe what I want to do here is at 0, okay? And then what I want is text, okay? So I want that at 0.text, okay? And so I'm going to say .text because I don't want the finished reason, I don't want the index, I don't want the long probes, you know, I just want this one, all right? That's it. And that's sufficient, okay? So then what I'm going to do is else. Okay, so I'm going to give this an else so that we always have an answer. Okay, so I'm going to say you beat the AI this time. All right, you can put anything you want, and I'm going to do an else there as well, and I'm going to say the answer is equals to you beat the same answer that we have over there. Okay, so I'm just going to copy. The reason why I'm doing this is that I want to make sure that this variable answer is always defined despite the option. So in this specific case, there would have been an error. So maybe you can also, else you can then double check what the response is, and then you can look for if it is an error and display that error, okay? But I'm not going to go into all of that detail now. Right now, I just want to make sure that this variable answer is defined. And because I've given an if there's a possibility that it doesn't go into the if and it goes into the else. I just want to give, have some response that says, okay, there is no response, okay? Then once I've done that, I want to then return the answer, all right? And then now this answer that you've returned is that answer over there, and I want to print the answer, okay? So this time it's going to print only what is inside of that text object, okay? And I'm going to change the prompt to test this. I'm not going to ask for the time. I want to say, good morning. How are you doing today? Okay, so I'm going to I'm greeting somebody in Swahili, and I want to get the response, and let's run that one instead, all right? All right, so I'm going to clear over here, and then I'm going to run OpenAI x.py. There you go. Jambo habari gani. Okay, this is Jambo habari gani is a greeting in Swahili. I actually do know a little bit of Swahili, and this is spot on. Jambo is how you say hello. Habari gani is how are you. Okay, this is perfect. This is perfect. And guess what? You want to use this as a language learning tool. You're going to visit Kenya next time, or some other a country where you need to speak a language. Build yourself a language translator, put it as a mobile app, and when you get there, every time you want to say something, you type it in there and it writes it for you and you say it, right? Isn't that a cool use case, right? So I'm going to then, in fact, what I'm going to do is do that, copy that, remove this, all right? So what I want to do is use this inside of over here. So here where I said write the function, I'm going to put that function in there, all right? Don't worry, we're going to get to how we work with the function and how we get the prompt and the language, because we're going to get the prompt and the language from inside of the form. So over here, you'll see select class. This select, we need to give it a name, okay? The name is going to be the language. All right, and then this one over there, the name is the AI prompt. Okay, so let's make this AI language. So there's a name AI prompt there, and AI language, so that when you submit this form, it's going to go into the request.post. So if it goes into the request.post, we can get the variables that way from the app.py, all right? So over here, we're going to have to say if a request.method, okay? Because you can have a get request and a post request, and I've allowed for both of them at the top here. And you don't want this function to run if someone is just getting the page, because if I refresh, if I come over here and I just refresh this page, all right, I'm running a get request. And if I'm just refreshing the page, I would not have submitted anything there and anything there. So there's not going to be a request dot post. So there's not going to be a variable there and you're going to go in error. So you have to actually specifically ask for when it's a post, so that you know that if it's a post request, somebody has completed the form, all right? And what you can also do over here to be even safer, you can say required, okay? You can say required, which means this form doesn't submit if somebody has not selected there. And you can also say required over here. I don't know if that will work. All right, you can say required over there, you can say required over here, so that when somebody submits the form and they haven't completed these two things, it's not gonna, it's not gonna run, okay? So that when you run the request.post, these variables cannot be empty, okay? So request.post, if request.method, right? If request.method is equals to post, so if the method of the request is post, then only then can you run this, okay? Then you can run this function answer is equals to this and that, okay? So we need to define the prompt and we need to define the language, all right? So let's copy them over here and paste them over there and define the prompt and the language, all right? So the prompt is going to be request.form, all right? And what did we call the prompt in the form? We called it AI prompt, okay? So you're just gonna copy that AI prompt in there. Okay, so request.form AI prompt, that is the prompt, and the language is equals to request.form AI language, right? And before you use request.method, request.form, request.prompt, make sure you have imported it at the top there from Flask, okay? Then once you do that, then suddenly the prompt is going to get it from the form, the language is going to get it from the form, and then it's going to run this function in the background, get language translation. So where is this function right now? This function is inside of our OpenAI x.py. So we need to import this function as well, okay? So we can actually say from OpenAI x, this is why I gave it a different name because I don't want to confuse the libraries, import that function. All right, so we're importing this function from the OpenAI X, which is the OpenAI X file, and then we can then use that function in there. Okay, and then it's the prompt and the language, and then after that, then we can return the locals, and then we will have this answer. All right, so this answer variable suddenly is available to be used, and instead of saying translation response over here, you can just say answer. Right? Yes. Okay. So let's test that. All right. Let's test that by entering a prompt and selecting a language, and then running this function, and then seeing if we can get that response output over there by selecting a different language. Okay. Okay, let me just clear this so you can see what I'm doing over here. All right. Normally, I'm just adding this to Git. All right, so let's clear this again. And now we're not running the OpenAI X file anymore. All right, we need to run the app.py file. Okay, so so we need to do Python app.py, and then we are running our application. All right, perfection. So let's say we want to translate hello, how are you? All right, but we want to translate it in French. I don't know French, and you can let me know if that's going to work. All right, translate. Bonjour, whatever that is. All right, so let's hello, how are you? All right, let's copy that. Let's translate it into Italian. All right. There you go. Ciao, come stai? I think that's correct. Okay. Let's translate it into Korean. All right. I cannot read what that is. But if there's somebody in here that understands Korean, you can let me know. Okay, let's translate it into Spanish, Español. Hola, ¿cómo estás? I think that's correct, okay? So I think our language translator is finally working, hey? Let us look for a bit of a longer paragraph, okay? I woke up this morning and decided to have some breakfast, but I could not find any milk in my fridge. Can you borrow me some money so I can go to the store and buy some milk? Okay, so it's a bit of a longer sentence. I just want to see how well it does with translating longer content. Okay, so let's try this. I'm going to copy it again so I can try it in a different language as well. Let's start this in Swahili. Wow, this is flipping amazing, guys. Like, this is amazing. Like, I can't tell you how amazing this is. Okay, so the next time I'm going to Zanzibar or something for a holiday, I'm gonna take this with me in my mobile app, and I'm just gonna like use it, and I'm gonna pick all the languages, and every time I want to say something, this is your, like, I'm gonna just put it in there, like, yes, say this. Oh, this is amazing. Mimi Kaumaka Asubini. Okay, I can't read that very well. But anyway, this is the application, guys. Thank you guys for watching. It's been amazing building this with you. Hand over some suggestions in the comments below. Let me know what else you want to build next with OpenAI. We'll try, as long as it's not a complex application, we'll try and build it over here. And we'll see you again, guys, next week. Sure.